Hey, I am back with another video. So today what I want to talk about is I want to give you some tips on how you can pay your car loan down faster. Or perhaps even maybe make your car loan and cut it in half. So this is my story. So I found a vehicle online that I liked. I knew that I wanted something that I could pay off in 2 years or less. So with me calculating, I knew what I wanted my monthly payment to be and so on. So what I did was I got a vehicle that I knew I could pay off in 2 years. So from there, what I actually did was I got my loan through the car dealership. That's not something that I recommend that you do, but in my case, my credit score is really good, so it was not a concern for me at all. So I got my actual loan through the dealership and I signed a 5 year, 60-month actual car. Initial rate on this car loan was 8%. So this was in January, February of 2024. Okay. Even with 800 some credit score at the time, that's just what the rate was. To me, it was high. But what I did was, because I knew the payment was what I wanted it to be, I knew how much I was paying down. And so from that point, what I did is I kept an eye on the rates. So as soon as the feds reduced the rate a little bit, I comparison priced actually to the local credit unions, other banks. And so my rate went from 8% down to 5.5%. So I refinanced the vehicle after 6 months. And in between that time, what I was doing was I was making monthly, actual bi-weekly car payments on that vehicle. So every 2 weeks, I was going into the bank, and that my car payment I think was like $250, and I was going in every 2 weeks. I was paying $125 this week, $125 the next 2 weeks. So that's what I did for those first actually 6 months of paying my car loan down. So back to the important stuff. So basically, once I refinanced that through the local credit union at the 5.5%, then what I started to do is I actually started to make weekly payments. So that 250, what I did was I was splitting it in half. So bi-weekly payments, 125 this every 2 weeks, 125 then following 2 weeks. But then what I started to do is also take that same amount, and so 125, and started actually going in and asking them to apply it to principal. So that's right, you heard what I said correctly. So my only payment was like 250 a month, and I was going every week basically paying 125. I made sure there was no prepayment penalties or anything like that by making more payments. And when I paid and I went to the bank, I told them apply this to principal. If you actually do your banking online, there might be a line in there as well. When you say this money, you apply it to the principal. So that's one of the tips that I actually did to pay this down so quickly is I applied the regular payment, split it in half. That reduced my interest, and the other half of money that I was sending, I was having them apply that to the principal. The very first tip that I want to give you guys is actually get out there on the internet before you actually go and make your purchase, and go and check on websites and see what the current going rates are out there. There's various websites that you can use, and what I will do in my long format video is I'll actually go over some of these websites or things that I suggest to actually check those rates. So before you even step into a dealership, before you even look online and purchase, make sure you're actually seeing what the rates are there and compare those rates. So as promised, as earlier I mentioned, some of the websites you can go out here and look and compare rates. So one of the websites I recommend is bankrate.com. When you go to this website, you can actually compare the loan rate amounts from many different companies out here. You can get the term for the loan amount, you get your APR, and it'll tell you sometimes some of the factors they look at, which is like your actual credit score. And some of them are companies you've heard of before, not heard of before. You'll actually see the ratings maybe from other people who have used them before. But this is a really good website, and it compares many, many, many vendors across the board. So this is one I suggest you go and look in there. And as you can see, it'll tell you exactly how it works. So go and check out this website. So here's another website that you can go out to compare rates. This one is lendingtree.com. I think they're a little bit more popular and well known. And this one, you can actually see the rates from different
banks as well as like credit unions, and you can see when you're applying there, it tells you the pros on actually getting a loan with them and some of the cons. So I think that's really good. And again, it gives you the rates, the loan terms, how much you can get. But I really like the pros and the cons on why you might consider them as a place to go and compare loans to, say, like your bankrupt.com. So take a look at this. Again, they compare many vendors across the board and see if this is a website that might work for you as well.
One of the huge things that I actually check and I would recommend before you actually go about getting a car or any type of loan in general is know what your credit score is before you're going to make a purchase. Because a lot of these places, when you're applying online for loans, they're going to ask you what your credit score is before you actually get that loan. So you're not thrown off by surprise when you're going in here to get a loan. There's various different websites that you can go out here, check what your credit score.
Two websites I recommend here: Credit Karma and Credit Sesame for checking your credit score.
Of 650 or higher before you get any type of loan, especially a car loan. And so try to get that 650 or higher. I really would push you to get a 700, but make sure you're like a 650 or higher to actually increase your chances of getting a lower rate on that car loan. Another great tip that I want to give you guys is actually look at credit unions. I know many of us are so used to going into the banks to actually get our rates and things like that and our loans, but check with your actual credit unions that are local. Credit unions are really good at working with people with lower credit scores. They're very good at actually giving you lower rates. They actually care a lot. They'll work with you a whole lot more. And like I said in the long format video, I'll go into this a little bit more on what I did just for you guys to compare that and maybe to help you guys out. But definitely check with the local credit unions online and see what their rates are compared to the bank that maybe you get your deposit put into.
If you want to do comparison on rates of bank versus credit union, here's a really good website that I found. It's called culookup.com. Check it out.
Really good tip that I wish was given to me years ago when making a car payment that I did not know about. So I'm going to tell you guys here today is make bi-weekly car loan payments. So what I mean is if you're someone that gets paid every 2 weeks, make your car payment every 2 weeks. That's a huge tip that's going to cut down on your payments as far as your interest and stuff like that as well. So definitely look into doing that as one way that I'm gonna give you a tip to reduce your car loan and pay that car loan off fast. Money from side hustles or birthday gifts or anything you get, apply that actually to your car loan, but make sure that goes to principal. So let me clarify that again to make sure I'm explaining correctly and make sure you understand me. Any extra money that you get that you want to pay for this car, make sure that money is applied to the principal, and that varies from bank to bank. So some of them you got to go in there in person to do it. Some of them you pay online, and when you pay online, you have to say, hey, apply this to principal, or you're paying online and then you have to call in and you say, hey, I want that extra money to apply to the principal. But this is a easy, quick tip to reduce and pay your car loan off.
So I wanted to take the time here to show you what I meant when I said I was making weekly and bi-weekly payments.
It's the longest that you can possibly take, because that's going to actually lower your payment. So finance it for longer than you actually need it for. So that spreads it out. It's going to lower your payment, but those extra payments, those you apply those to the principal. So that is something that will really help you pay your car auto loan off faster. One of the things I want you to think about is what you can actually afford. And so I'm not talking about what you can actually afford on a monthly basis. So they're going to offer you a higher amount. Say it's $30,000, right? Actually go for less than what you can afford. So look for like a $20,000 vehicle, a $25,000 vehicle, something like that. So finance for actually less than you can actually afford. At this point, let's just assume that you've already gotten your auto loan at this point. So it's a high rate, maybe due to your credit score, whatever the case may be. So what you want to do is keep an eye on those rates. Rates fluctuate all the time. And so after you've got your car loan, keep checking in about 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Look to see if the rates are lower through a credit union or other rates. Check online and actually refinance that loan. And then still do the same thing as I told you earlier, spread it out and apply the other principles I mentioned as well. But refinance that loan. And if it's 6 months, a year, hopefully you've been working on your credit score and you can get a better rate. But definitely refinance. I think that's something that's not talked about. As soon as you start making these payments and bi-weekly, is that it's going to help your credit score. So every time a payment is actually applied to your car loan, it's going to help your credit score. So remember earlier when I was saying something about within that first 6 months that I was making bi-weekly payments, that helps your credit score. I was already at 800 plus something, but for somebody that's maybe in the 700s or 650, that's a tip that I would tell you on how to pay your car loan off faster. Is those bi-weekly payments are going to improve your credit score. So then when you do go in and refinance, that should help you out as well. That's something that I noticed. I didn't even think about that or anticipate that when I was making these payments, but take that in consideration. What you're also going to see is as that money that you owe starts going down, you're going to get more and more motivated to actually pay this thing off faster. And so all these little payments that you're making, you're just going to get motivated and you're going to be happy and excited that you're paying this off so quick. If you found any information that I've given today in this video helpful, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you're leaving some comments so I can answer any questions you have. Make sure that you like. Make sure that you are sharing this video as well. And that way it'll be easier for you guys to find me actually, and it helps the algorithm for future videos that I'm doing. I'm going to cover a lot of things related to finance, tech reviews, how to get in IT, just my overall story about how I kind of got to where I am today. And this will make it easier for you guys to find, and I can share these ideas and tips and tricks that I have used over the years.